A few days ago, South Dakota State assistant coach and former Penn State wrestler Brady Berge has decided to return to college wrestling, and it took the wrestling world by storm. I think it goes without saying that not many wrestling fans expected this to come out, especially with half the wrestling season gone already basically, and with dual season very much started in the Big Ten. Berge is returning to his former alma mater Penn State, and is expected to wrestle 157 once again. This obviously raises many questions, speculations, and excitement for everyone except maybe Iowa and Michigan fans. But let's just talk some Brady Berge and how he left Penn State but eventually decided to return to the Nittany Lions. Before we jump in, hey everyone, my name is Tanner, and this is TrueTan Wrestling. I primarily make dual and tournament recaps, breaking news stories like this video, and career retrospectives from time to time. I also make exclusive content on Patreon, like podcasts and TrueTan articles, highlighting news in the D1 college wrestling space. If any of that sounds interesting to you, feel free to hit that like button and that subscribe button for more content in the future. Also leave a comment in the comment section below with any questions you have for me throughout this video. Now, let's talk some Brady Berge. For starters, just for people who don't know, last year's NCAA season did not count toward wrestling eligibility. For example, Berge was a redshirt junior last year, so he could return again as a redshirt junior once more this season. I state this because he would be able to return to Penn State regardless of last year, but this was just a free year to extend his productivity along with everyone else's productivity last year. Unfortunately, due to a few injuries, Berge lost his love for competing as a wrestler and decided to leave the sport of competition and to continue his career as a coach at South Dakota State. From what I heard, he was a pretty good coach and his job went pretty well, so I wish him the best with his future coaching goals and achievements. Berge was an extremely high recruit coming out of high school and a junior freestyle medalist, so he was never really under the radar per se. People always knew he was a valuable asset for Penn State, but the major question just was, when would he start being a machine for the Nittany Lions and scoring major points in March? Well, unfortunately, due to previous mentioned injuries and slight misses on the All-American stand, I think some people just forgot how truly good Berge really was. Berge's first year at Penn State was relatively short in his redshirt season. He only wrestled 5 matches at the Princeton Open, going 4-1 on the day, only losing to former productive Princeton starter D'Angelo, who was a solid wrestler for the Tigers. His next season looked promising, with Berge expecting to be the guy at 149 for the Nittany Lions. The only problem with him being the guy at 149 is that he wrestled 157 during his whole redshirt season and is now having to drop back down to 149. There was a lot of rumors that it was tough for Berge to make this weight, and he might have outgrown the weight class honestly. The Penn State stud Jason Nolf stood in Berge's 157 spot, but the team was way better with Berge at 149 and Nolf at 157. Plus, Berge would only have to make this drop for 1 season, and then Nolf will be gone. Berge missed a few matches, and in some matches he looked a little off to his potential, but honestly, for the most part, he looked great and competed really tough. I have seen redshirt freshmen do much worse at managing their weight and not performing to their abilities, so I think Berge did great this first season in the lineup. This season, he really only lost 5 matches, and the worst loss would probably be to Cole Martin of Wisconsin, but he was really good and productive for the Badgers, so a pretty good, quote, worse loss. He did get majored by Micah Jordan, so that also hurt a little bit, but he would wrestle All-Americans Fine Silver of Duke Tough and beat Pat Lugo of Iowa at Big Tens and Dagan from Iowa State, who both All-Americaned in their careers. His nationals would end short in the round of 16 after losing to a very good Kolazic of Princeton and then being beat by a tough Thorne of Minnesota on the backside to end his redshirt freshman season. Then entering his redshirt sophomore year, he would pick up a very nice win over Josh Humphreys of Lehigh. Berge looked nice at his new weight class, 157, being a very elite wrestler. Unfortunately, tragedy would strike, and Berge would suffer an injury that I believe was a very brutal concussion, and his season was basically over. He would eventually come back this season though to wrestle Quinn Kinner in the Ohio State duel, but he did not look himself and dropped this match, officially ending his season. Berge showed real potential his freshman year, but the 149 weight class was just not for him, and then he showed real promise starting at 157, but unfortunately injury just ended that second season a little too early. This year was full of adversity for Penn State. This was the year they lost to Arizona State, dropping their dual win streak. Kassar would get injured at the US Open, ending his season, and they would lose to Iowa in a crazy duel. And to top it all off, they didn't even get to compete at Nationals due to COVID canceling that event. Fast forwarding to Berge's 3rd season, and I think it goes without saying, but he's had a pretty unfortunate career so far, especially with his concussion 2nd year. Entering his 3rd year though, there would be several questions surrounding him. First one obviously, is he healthy? And the second question would be how his past injuries and recovery are going to affect him in this next season. Well, in my opinion, I think this is his best season yet, even though he had a small sample size and basically wrestled all Big Ten wrestlers. He was undefeated in duels this season, made the Big Ten 2021 quarterfinals, only lost to Brantley of Minnesota in overtime, and Coleman of Purdue by a point to eventually take 6 at that tournament. He entered the NCAA tournament as a 12 seed, where he would make the quarterfinals by beating promising Cerniglia of Navy and Big Ten runner-up and national 5th seed Young of Iowa. Unfortunately, injury would strike again, with Bergy's knee being injured during the quarterfinal match against eventual Ryder finalist Del Vecchia. Bergy would have to forfeit out of the tournament, and his best run at nationals being a quarterfinalist and a round of 12 finisher. This was a sad way to end a season, but it clearly proved that he had the skills to become an All-American and beat those level athletes, considering Young would wrestle back to take 7th. But unfortunately, injuries and time away from the sport got the best of Bergy, and shortly after the season he would announce that he would not return to Penn State, and he lost his love due to all the injuries. There was no hard feelings for Penn State, and the wrestling community wished him the best of luck. With all that said, the same people wished him back with open arms after he announced his return to Penn State, and I think no one else was happier than the Nittany Lions fans themselves. Negron has been doing very well for Penn State at 157, but Bergy would probably still be the starter if he never left, and he's an extremely productive option for them, no offense to Negron. This adds some nice points to Penn State that they are not expected to get. However, there are still a few unanswered questions surrounding Bergy and his return. For starters, he will be returning to coach at South Dakota State after his time competing again, which is very awesome for him. However, how is he going to look coming back to college athletics? I know he basically never left. He was probably training every day with the Jackrabbits, but it will be a small adjustment moving back into college athletics, and I am sure that transition will take a little bit of time. Also, the process of re-enrolling back into Penn State could take a while, so it might be a bit till we see him again in the lineup. I mean, just look at the Suriano situation. It's taking him a little bit of time to enroll into Michigan and get all his classes set up. Another issue I see with Bergy returning halfway through the season is that he will really have to build up matches. He'll have to build up matches to qualify a bid for the Big Ten Conference at 157. I'm not sure where he will get these matches since his return is still up in the air, but he could go to an open somewhere, and I'm sure he'll get a few matches in the Big Ten since that dual portion of the schedule just started. However, his return is still way up in the air, like I said, with administration and when Penn State wants to roll him out, when they think he'll look his best. But regardless of all that, I am sure when we see him in the Penn State singlet again, he will look great. Oddly enough, Penn State entered this season with a lot of weird holes, and I made a whole video highlighting those holes. But in the past few weeks, there has been nothing but great news for Penn State, and for the first time in a long time, they almost have a full squad of 10 ranked wrestlers. If this move pays off for Bergy and he accomplishes his goals that he ever so slightly missed in the past years, Penn State will run away with this team title in my opinion. With all that said, it was really awesome rewatching some of Brady Bergy's matches and going through his past stats, because he is truly a great wrestler that college wrestling lost way too early. But our second chance as wrestling fans to rewatch Brady Bergy in a Penn State singlet is probably just a few weeks away, which everyone should be super excited about. I hope you all enjoyed this video. It was a little bit of a college mini retrospective and a breaking news story on Brady Bergy. But regardless, I hope you all enjoyed. And if you did, hit that like button for more content in the future. Sorry this video was a little late for breaking news story, but I was a little busy traveling, so my apologies. For more on-time content in the future, hit that subscribe button, and also leave me a comment with your thoughts on this situation in the comment section below. I would love to hear what you have to say. With all that said, I wish you all a great day, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, everybody.